Welcome to the Journey podcast, where we showcase some of the most dynamic people on the face of the planet. Today, it is an honor and privilege to be able to interview someone who I absolutely have so much respect and admiration for. He is not only a Hall of Fame keynote speaker, he is a CEO, he is an incredible father and a best-selling author, and just so much more beyond that. And we're going to get into that here shortly, but I have the honor and privilege of bringing my brother, Dr. Delatorro McNeal. Appreciate having you on.
Yeah, it's a joy and an honor, brother. I mean that sincerely, man.
I've been looking forward to this.
Me too.
I know we've been back and forth. You're speaking in different cities. I'm speaking in different cities.
Yeah.
Finally, we're able to make this.
Mesh the schedules, I know.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to go a little bit deep into your story. I know you and I actually heard of you for the very first time on a TV station that we both frequent.
Yes,
TV,
absolutely,
NBC.
absolutely.
And I remember just kind of going through your journey from social media and just looking you up online.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this brother is like, OG speaker.
Thank you, man.
Icon in the speaking world, especially. And today you're mentoring a lot of brothers like myself who are on to come up. Yeah. And I just have so much admiration for you, brother. So thank you.
And I appreciate, man, your grind, your hustle, your determination, your commitment to excellence, man, is really, really powerful. And I love the fact that you're committed to helping people unpack the journey that it takes to get to success. Because one of the things that I firmly believe is no matter what success we're going after, if we abort the process, we abort the end product.
Absolutely.
And I think so often we want the outcome, but we don't want the process. And that's what I love about this show. We're talking about the journey, which is the process of how we get to where we get to it. Because you and I both know this. Most of the people that win the lottery, if you get instant success and you didn't have a chance to become along the way, then you can't maintain what you attain. Exactly, right? So I love this platform, man. I'm excited, man.
And I know there's so much we can unpack, like even just the work that you do in the peak performance. You're a peak performance expert. That's what you're mainly known for a lot of TV stations. And I specifically wanted to start off by just going a little bit into your story. Before you became this iconic figure today, speaking on stages all around the world. I think today, if I'm not mistaken, you have over 4,500 documented paid talks. and that's just mind-boggling. It's
crazy, man.
And you're still young.
Yeah, I'm 46, man.
One of my mentors over the years has been Les Brown.
Yeah.
He's like the godfather of the speaking world.
Yeah.
To think that you have that many paid speeches under your belt, it's incredible. So,
and Les was a great mentor of mine in the beginning. So I mean, and he's still to this day, he's a dear friend. When I actually got inducted into the Speaker Hall of Fame, he came to the National Speakers Association convention that year to see me walk across the stage. And he mentored my mentor, who was Dr. Willie Jolly. And that same year, Dr. Willie Jolly got an incredible award too. So
it's incredible.
So I believe in the importance of what I call a touchable mentor. You and I both know this, right? When we talk to audiences, we talk to people, everybody wants success. Everybody wants all these big, high things. And one of the first questions I ask folks is, okay, who's your touchable mentor? Because most of the time people name stratosphere people who are in the top 0.00001%, right? People you can't call, you can't text, you can't touch. What I love about what you and I both have done in our careers is invested in the right mentoring, invested in the right coaching, and put the money, and way more than the money, the time, the energy, the effort, and the falling on your face and getting up again and falling on your face and getting up again. That's part of the journey.
It's funny you mentioned mentorship. I remember the very first time my mentor, so Les mentored a lot of my mentors. Kind of like what you do at Crush the Stage. He was doing early.
With his platinum speaker. Absolutely.
Exactly. So a lot of my mentors were a part of that. And I remember being introduced to him for the very first time in Las Vegas. We had dinner. And I was so nervous. I was a young brother, early 20s in Vegas. They bring Les Brown. And I was so nervous that I just started ordering drinks. And I don't even drink like that. But it was just like, wow, this is actually happening right now. It's incredible to be able to meet your mentors, but more than anything, to find out that they're actually who they say they are.
That part.
And that's the one thing that I saw in Les is he truly is a genuine soul. And even meeting you is like, I can feel it.
Yeah, man.
So,
and what you just said something powerful, which reminded me of it's funny, Josh, right? We spend so much time admiring the greats. And then what happens is we spend so much time admiring them and we model what it is that they do. And then we become the very thing that we admired. And I always tell influencers this, you have to know when it's your turn to be in the front.
Very true.
Because you can spend so much time admiring that you don't realize, okay, you're the person now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if sometimes we can spend so much time serving others that we forget, okay, it's time for people to serve me.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And if we're not careful, we will catch that switch.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to have studied under the greats like Dr. Willie Jolly and Dr. Maya Angelou and Dr. Stephen Covey and Zig Ziglar and Dr. Stedman Graham and so many others. All these people. Dr. Miles Monroe is a personal mentor of mine. Like, so it's like, to study under all these people, to me, the greatest thing we can do, bro, is go out there and succeed.
Absolutely.
And teach the very things that they taught us and pay it forward by our example in our life. And you've done that, and I've done that, and we've done that. And this is just the beginning. Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm excited.
You mentioned so many incredible names, some of which they were mentors from afar.
Yeah.
Dr. Miles Monroe, if you remember me telling you, I actually lived in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I lived 5 blocks away from his church. Woo. And to add to that, my very first conference that I personally had for my community was in his church.
Come on, brother. I love it.
I mean, I love the fact that you have so many giants who you stood on the shoulders of.
Yeah, man. It's powerful, man.
Yeah.
And even that, it speaks to the congruence, right? So think about who you admire and who you respect and why you admire and respect them. Because I believe that true birds of a feather flock together. So if you admire someone who's amazing, that means that there's something in you that's amazing.
Most definitely.
That's resonating, that's connecting with that, right? So believe in yourself to the extent that you can, because at the end of the day, that's what I did, bro. I said, man, if I admire these people and there's something in me that resonates with them, I have to be on the journey somewhere.
Most definitely.
Because Simba and Mufasa are the same thing. They're both king at different stages. That's right. And if we can learn that we're on the journey with the greats, and they have something. I love something that Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith says. He says, God's doing something in you, through you, as you. And when we can embrace the fact that he's not only doing it in us and through us, but sometimes God's doing the greatest work as us.
That's right.
We are the miracle. We are the blessing, bro.
Yeah, man, that's so good. So, you know, we're only 10 minutes in. Right. I love it. I love you.
Yeah. No.
So we got to go.
We got to go to the store. Yeah. So
Delatorro. You know what fascinates me about you specifically, because I come from Spanish culture.
Beautiful.
Delatorro.
Delatorro. Yes, sir. Of the bull. Come on, somebody.
I mean, no in the world thought of that.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. I'm just like, like, you gotta run it back.
You gotta run it back.
Did you grow up in Florida? Was it a suburban upbringing?
Yeah.
Privilege? You know, not knocking privilege. My kids are, you know, But what was it like for you as a young Delatorro?
So you're gonna die laughing, bro. So I'm born and raised in Tampa. I'm a Tampa native, born and raised here. And so my mom was a Sunday school teacher and an English teacher. So if you were gonna be Olivia's kid, you had to be able to talk. So from the time I was as old as I can remember, you know, the conversation of diction, enunciation, pronunciation, right? Clarity of speech and language was a huge part of my daily life. Like I couldn't go to the dining room table or the dinner table every night and just talk any kind of language. I had to be, my mom was correcting my grammar in the backseat of the car, right? On the way to school, from school, walking back through the school bus. So having a mother who was, and I always pay homage to my mother. I know at the time of this recording, we just passed Mother's Day, and man, it's been 11 years that my mom has been gone. And I miss her every day. And I talk about her in every interview and in every speech, because part of my journey has been, you know, some of the greatest years of my speaking career, the last 11 years, she didn't get a chance to fully in person see some of the fruit that she poured so much into my roots. But I carry her with me every day, man. And I'm so grateful for that, man. She was such a huge influence. So I was raised in the church. I was raised Christian upbringing. My father I'm named after my dad. So here's where it gets really powerful, right? So my mom taught me how to speak and how to communicate. My dad taught me how to never quit and how to never give up. So my father was shot in the upper back twice fighting for you and I in the Vietnam War. And they told my dad he would never be able to walk again. So my dad's done more from a wheelchair than most people who are fully able-bodied. So my he became the national director of the Paralyzed Veterans Association of America for over 10 years, creating policy for disabled veterans all over the world in Washington, D.C. I remember helping my dad write speeches that he would give to Congress, all kinds of stuff, you know. And so my parents, while they divorced when I was 2 and went on to lead separate lives with other people, you know, they gave me 2 amazing gifts. My dad gave me the gift of not quitting. My mom gave me the gift of communication.
I love that.
So with those 2 gifts, I was able to come out here and make something happen. And I was able to develop something that we never hear talked about on social media, and that's work ethic.
That's incredible.
We never hear work ethic talked about. We hear, you know, go to the bank and get all these loans, and we hear start trucking company, nothing against trucking. We hear, you know, do this with your credit, nothing against the credit stuff. We hear start a podcast, nothing against all that. We all have them.
That's right.
But all of those things, no matter what venture you get into, whether it's vending machines or real estate or expatting or whatever, work ethic has to play a part in it.
Very true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So my parents really helped me develop a work ethic, because after my parents divorced, I watched my mom raise me and my older brother, Michael, as a single mom for a number of years until she remarried. And I watched my dad lead another family and still have an incredible career from a wheelchair and do everything he wanted to do in life without the use of his legs. And so for me, man, my early upbringing came from watching 2 people pour the best of what they had into me.
That's amazing.
And so my name, I'm named after my father, but the name actually came from a Vietnamese gentleman whose name was Delatorro. Wow. So a Vietnamese gentleman saved my grandfather's life. And so when my grandfather had a kid, he named it after the Vietnamese gentleman.
Goosebumps. That's
so by the time the name got to the States, somehow an A got involved, and so it became Delatorro. So that's how my dad got the name. And then my dad was wounded in war, and so he passed the name down to me. So there's just this sense of, like I said, of the bull, of the strong one, of the determined one, of the one who won't quit, of the one who's focused, of the one who's has tenacity, right? And grit and fortitude. So man, yeah, man. So that's where the name came from.
I would love to pay homage to parents, especially. Because I know it's not easy being a parent.
No.
Shout out to, you know, your dad, Delatorro, but also your
Olivia.
Yeah, she's great job. Great job.
Thank you, man.
So many people. It's amazing as a parent. Being able to witness or just even producing something in the world that impacts so many, and it's sort of multiplied.
Right.
Value system, your principles, all of these things have a way of permeating and echoing into eternity.
That's right.
And it's just beautiful that you can pay homage in that way. So,
and I think it's powerful too, Josh, and you and I both can relate to this, man. You know, I love something that Tony teaches, and he says, listen, because not everybody had the most amazing relationship with their parents growing up. And I've worked on my relationship with both my parents over the years, right? But one of the things I want to encourage every one of y'all who's participating in this podcast is to understand, if you're going to blame your parents for what didn't work right, also blame them for the good.
Yeah.
If you're going to blame, what did he say? Blame equitably.
Absolutely.
Blame for the good. Blame intelligently. Blame for both sides. And you didn't realize that even the bad things that you went through, even if your parents had a hand in some of the challenging things that you went through, it shaped you and gave you the drive that you had, gave you the hunger that you had. And without that, maybe you wouldn't have, because, I mean, we were just talking about this before we started, right? Our kids haven't made. Yeah. They haven't set. And sometimes as a father, that concerns me a little bit, you know, because it's like, what does Tony teach? You know, tough times produce great people, but amazing times produce weak people.
Yeah.
So it's like, sometimes I wonder about this current generation, because some of them haven't had to go through to get the fortitude and this grit.
That's right.
And some of those soft skills, like fortitude and grit, you can't learn from a seminar.
Yeah.
Either you have it or you don't.
That's true. And it's interesting because trauma can work in both ways. Trauma could very well end up leading you into self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So many different things. Like I personally have gone through a lot of healing. I know you have as well.
Yeah, bro.
Right. Mental health is a serious thing.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
These days, you don't really, it doesn't hit you until you cultivate an awareness of what was really happening.
That's right.
And what was triggering you.
Yeah.
Because there were wounds that were ultimately never stitched up.
Come on, yes.
But to be fair, to blame intelligently,
That's right.
you also have that part of trauma that leads to your drive.
That's right.
That part of you that has a chip on your shoulder.
That's right, right.
You know, it was for me.
Yeah.
Being the young brother, first person in my family to go off to college, and always having that chip on my shoulder, that feeling of not being enough can drive you.
Having something to prove. Come on.
Something to prove.
Yeah,
Right? Always something to prove.
Yeah.
But you end up hitting a wall.
Yeah.
I end up hitting a wall.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious to hear a little bit about possibly your wall.
Yeah.
Throughout the journey, because I know it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows.
Of course. Yeah.
And walk me through, because I know you did some school, some formal education.
Yeah.
On to get your master.
Right. So actually some of my bumps and bruises happened relatively early, Josh. So it's like, so cool. So parents get divorced, they go on there. My mom moves us to Tallahassee. And so I'm in elementary school doing my thing. Things are cool, whatever. But, I still watch my mom struggle a lot financially. And I wasn't okay with that, right? So she moves us back to Tampa. And, then she remarries a gentleman who was a deacon in the church. So on Sunday, he was lifting up holy hands. But Monday through Friday, and back at home, when nobody could see, he was lifting those same hands. And he was very physically abusive to my mother. So I grew up in an environment where I had to watch my stepdad be very emotionally, verbally, and physically abusive to my mom. And it was domestic violence, but it was covered up because of his position in the church.
Of course.
And so it was really, really challenging. And so for me, when I started to check out as a young boy, and so I had trouble in school. And so in the 6th grade, I went to Progress Village, and right here in Tampa. And on the first day of class in the 6th grade, my teacher, I don't know why she said this to me. I call it purpose and destiny. But she looked at me on the first day of class and she said, "You're not a youth at risk. You're a youth at promise. And I'm not just going to teach you this year. I'm going to mentor you." And bro, something broke, man. Now that same story is what has made it to the main platform of Lakewood Church. Pastor Joel Osteen has told my story to millions of people in 2 separate sermons. You don't have to believe me. You can Google it for yourself. You can go to Joel Osteen on YouTube and type in Barrier Breaker. Watch that sermon. You'll hear him tell us the same story. Or watch the sermon called Tell Them What They Can Become. Both sermons, he talks about how I was labeled an at-risk youth in the 5th and 6th grade and told that I wasn't going to amount to much of anything. But a teacher stepped in.
I love it.
And I think every time we go up to someone who served our country in the military, we should shake their hand and say, "Thank you for your service."
Yeah.
But I think every time we go up to an educator, Josh, we should say, "Thank you for your impact." Because every one of us have a favorite teacher.
That's right.
And Miss D was my favorite teacher. I got show boss, man. She was amazing because she sat me down and she taught me about life. And that is 6th grade. That was the shift.
Yeah.
That put me on a whole different trajectory academically. And I was able to get over not being good enough or feeling good enough or feeling invisible or whatever. And I got on my game, man. And I got my academics together.
Beautiful.
And my mom started surrounding me and my older brother, Michael, with extended family members and mentors and people who were just in the community who were just doing good things and speaking positive light over me. And since my mom was such a profound orator, Josh, my mom, this is a true story. I don't tell this often. So after school, my mom would make us go and watch her and the cast, because my mom, long before the amazing Tyler Perry and the all incredible work he's doing now, my mom used to narrate gospel stage plays and productions here in Tampa. So she was like the voice of these plays. So I was coloring books and doing math homework while I'm listening to my mom orate and narrate plays. So it's just been in my bones, man, for a long time. And people always say to me now, they say, "Dr. D, man, you have all these incredible one-liners and just known for these, you just drop all these bombs and gems, right, in your talks." That's because, Josh, I used to walk up to the school bus and my mom gave me, when I was a kid, she would give me quote books because I loved small, short, punchy statements. So my mom would give me quote books and I would walk up to the school bus and I would read a quote. And then I would say, "Okay, now if someone asked me to talk about this, what would I say?" I didn't know because I hadn't joined Toastmasters. I'm a kid. that was a table topic, you know?
Yeah, wrong thing.
I didn't know that was impromptu speaking. I didn't know that was extemporaneous, right? I didn't know what the words to call it, but I was just testing out my ability to take a thought and add value to it, right? For example, we've all heard the expression, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
Dr. Delatoro's addition to that thought is you can lead a horse to water, Josh, but you can't make him drink. However, you can make the horse thirsty. Mm-hmm. And I think it's our job as entrepreneurs and it's our job as influencers to make our audiences thirsty for the things that we have to provide for them. If you think about it, every movie theater, every theme park, every baseball park, every arena, what do they sell? Sodium-rich stuff.
That's right.
Why? To make you thirsty. Every bar, every club sells you peanuts and pretzels and all this stuff, right? Sodium-rich stuff, hot dogs, hamburgers, nachos. Why? To make you thirsty, because they make their real money off the alcohol and the beverages, right? So they know they can't make you buy, but they can make you thirsty.
Yeah, that's dope. I've never heard of that. That's an original.
Yeah. And that's what I encourage people to do. I said, man, listen, on your journey, ask yourself the powerful question. What is my unique, Brenda Burchard teaches this, perspective on a thought? See, I believe that we live in a world now, unfortunately, in 2024 and beyond, where R&D used to stand for research and development. Mm-hmm. Now, Josh, it stands for rip off and duplicate, because most people just take other people's stuff, change one word about it, and call it their own. So that's faster and it's easy, right? I love AI. I love artificial intelligence, but AI will never replace DI, divine intelligence.
That's right.
And I believe in getting those divine downloads. I love AI. I think all these tools are great. But I will forever want those original, authentic downloads that come straight from God that I then have to interpret and figure out how to say this in a way that the audience can get the maximum out of. So I think the more we can stay true to who we really are and those unique thoughts and really put time and energy into really being original.
So true.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of copying what's out here.
Yeah, especially in the world of personal development, you see a lot of things that are just
rinse and repeat, bro.
Yeah, and I think that's what separates the good from the great.
Come on.
It's just that originality.
Yeah,
being
bro.
able to just put people, and then, as the years go by, you hear people regurgitating things that you said, right? And claiming it as their own. It's all good, right? But they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Right. It's all good, but they heard it first.
Right? That's right. On the Journey podcast. That's right.
Not imitation.
That's right. But so for me, that early upbringing, man, was huge, man. From sixth grade to then transitioning. So after the sixth grade, I didn't have any more academic challenges, Josh. Things started going well. I got involved in student leadership. I started getting involved in clubs and organizations. I was raised in the suburbs predominantly. So it's interesting, right? So I was raised in Brandon, which was predominantly Caucasian at the time that I was there. But yet the church that I went to was in the hood. So, and I was, my stepdad was a janitor at the church in addition to being a deacon. So we had to go up there 3 or 4 times a week to clean up after weddings, funerals, everything else, right? So I was going to church in the hood, but I lived in the suburbs. So I had a little bit of both lives, if that makes sense. But what was cool was when I started working for Winn-Dixie, which is my first job. I got my first job at the age of 14.
Nice.
And I started bagging groceries at Winn-Dixie. I didn't want to go to Chuck E. Cheese and hang out with the mouse. I didn't want to go to Malibu and view the go-karts, right? I wanted to work because I didn't want my mom to have to struggle to take care of me. I saw how much she was struggling already trying to take care of everything she was dealing with my stepdad. So I developed that work ethic at age 14, man. And from the time I was 14 till right now, I've never not had some form of employment. I've always been working, man. And then and you're going to laugh about this, man. So I'm working at Winn-Dixie doing my thing. And I also had a singing group because before I became a speaker, my goal was to be a member of Boyz II Men.
Wow.
I mean, like real talk.
I wrote the Boyz II Men. Listen to the Gaston classics,
bro. Like when Mike, the bass singer, when he had to leave the group, I swore they were calling me. Swore they were calling me.
Crazy.
I wanted to be the 4th member, and I sang. So I've been in multiple groups and stuff like that, and like doo-wop groups and stuff like that, because I sing all the bass, all the low stuff. And so that was I tell people this all the time. I say, listen, go back to what you wanted to be when you were a kid. And so one of the things that amazed me about Boys to Men was, first of all, a couple things that amazed me about them. Number one, they love their mothers. Number two, they love God.
Yeah.
Number three, they love their craft.
Clearly. Very true.
And they were willing to master their craft. Every time Boys to Men got interviewed, at the end of the interview, they would give them microphones and make them sing with no prep.
Yeah.
And every time.
Yeah.
Perfect 4-part harmony. I'm like, that's some gangster, right? So Boys to Men taught me excellence. Boys to Men taught me how to be ready so I don't have to get ready.
I love that.
That makes sense? So as a part of my journey, man, of getting in this game, I deal with the domestic violence in the house. And so I escape. So I start working so I can have an outlet. It's like, cause I don't want to be home. I don't want to be home and be around all that foolishness.
Yeah.
So I developed that work ethic and took up martial arts and took up racquetball and playing football until my mom said I couldn't play anymore because I had a heart murmur. So I had to stop playing football. I took up karate and, but I was just this kid that was really eager to learn about life. And I would listen to audiobooks in the car at age 14, 15, and 16. And I would hear Zig Ziglar say stuff like, always outperform your paycheck. Because the truth is, it might not show up in your check, but your actions will always show up in your character, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so I would listen to people like Zig and Dr. Mike Murdoch, who would say, pursuit is proof of passion, and I can tell how passionate you are about something based on how you're pursuing it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I would study the grades and listen to audios in my car. And then I went on to Florida State University and I got my bachelor's and master's. I got 2 degrees in 5 years with a 4.0 and no debt.
Wow. From
Florida State. And that taught me a huge lesson too, Josh, because when I went to Florida State, I didn't have all the money to go and all that stuff, but I had a couple scholarship dollars from some oratorical contests that I won, and I started working. And I met my first professional mentor in college. He's passed away now, but his name was Dr. Lee Jones. And Dr. Lee Jones had a bachelor's, 2 masters, and a PhD. And he was the associate dean for academic affairs and instruction at the College of Education at Florida State. And I met him my freshman year. He was short, he wore a suit and a bow tie, and he walked fast everywhere he went. And so I remember when I heard him speak for the first time as a freshman, I was hooked. He was just powerful. He was profound. He was concise. And I went up to him after he talked and I said, man, I'd love to just learn from you and glean from you. He said, okay, well, follow me to my car. Grab that box, grab that. And I said, man, you walk fast. I said, can you slow down? He said, no. I said, why won't you slow down? He said, because busy people walk fast. We value our time. If you want to hang out with me, speed up.
Yeah.
I was like, dang. I was hooked. And he was long before Bishop T.D. Jakes became a mentor, long before Les Brown became a mentor and Tony Robbins became a mentor and all these other amazing people. There was Dr. Lee Jones, who mentored me in college and who groomed me and really, really, really put his foot in my behind and really made me, and he helped me. He said, listen, the fastest way for you to succeed in school is by being a student leader. So he helped me to get involved in student leadership. And so I was an RA and I was an orientation leader and, and all these things give you a chance to do what? Speak.
Oh, yeah.
So you're doing a lot of speaking, you're doing a lot of presenting. So I'm like, I'm noticing a pattern here. Okay, it happened in childhood. My mom's raising me and grooming me. I'm doing all these parts in church and watching plays and blah, blah, blah. And then I go to college and my first mentor is an itinerant speaker as well. So it's been a series of touchable mentors, Josh.
Getting your 10,000 hours in.
Come on, man.
Love it.
So that's been a part of the journey. And so people see me now, they say, okay, Dr. D, you've been in the game 20 years. So that's why you're as articulate as you are. And I'm like, well, you kind of got to go back. I've been full-time as of 2024. I've been full-time 20 years. But you got to go way further back because I've been working on this gift of communication and oratorical excellence for decades.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, while you were in school, did you have an idea of like what kind of career path you were going to go down? I'm assuming that it probably wasn't in the realm of speaking,
right?
Maybe the thought of it,
right?
You have entertained, but what did you actually want to do for a career? Why
Beautiful, man.
Study what you did,
right?
Degree.
So I'm still hooked on my Boys to Men as I'm getting ready. I'm going to Florida State. So I'm like, some point somebody's gonna discover me, right? So, but man, we rocked out. We had a great time. Love those guys still to this day. But so I knew probably like sophomore year, I knew I wanted to do what I saw Les and I saw Tony and I saw all these amazing people. I said, man, these speakers make a living being positive. I can do that. That's what I feel called to. But one of the greatest things that helped inform my decision to go into speaking was I took a spiritual gifts inventory test. So, and when I took this, and for those of y'all who don't know, a spiritual gifts inventory basically asks you a series of questions that helps you understand what your spiritual gifts and talents are and what your spiritual inclinations and unctions are. And based upon this long assessment that you take, it helps you understand certain gifts that you naturally have at the spirit level. And so I learned that my greatest gifts were in the area of exhortation, administration, and leadership. And I'm like, what is exhortation? So I went to my pastor at the time. I said, what is this whole exhortation thing? He said, it's the spiritual gift of encouraging, uplifting, and inspiring people. And it's a natural spiritual gift that you have. And so when I learned that that was like a innate joint that God just dropped on me, and I'm like, okay, this needs to be cultivated.
Yeah.
And so I began to start studying that gift and that craft of what does it mean to be an exhorter, an exhortation. So my undergraduate degree was in communication. My minor was in Black studies. And then my mentor, of course, Dr. Jones, was so adamant about advanced education. I finished undergrad I finished undergrad in 3.5 years. So because I was finishing early, Dr. Jones said, hey, keep going. Even though you're graduating in an off semester, keep going and go ahead and knock your master's out at least. And so I decided to major in something that I had never heard of before. I had never heard of curriculum design. I had never heard of instructional systems. I hadn't heard of these things before. And so I started researching it, and I realized, I said, man, the military, every corporation, every organization that has to train people has to use some methodology for how they train human beings. How does learning get transferred? And that's when I learned about what curriculum design was. And so I began to start studying curriculum design and instructional systems. And so I decided to major in that at Florida State because Dr. Jones wanted me to have a major that would give me a competitive advantage in the marketplace.
Got it.
And that was something different and unique other than just the typical stuff you see as a major in. And so, man, when I tell you because of that, and I finished that graduate school program, it was a 2-year program. I finished that one in 1.5 years as well. And I got the Gagne Briggs Outstanding Master Student of the Year Award and all this great stuff. I'm like, man, this is dope. So I finished in 5 years total. And I thought I was going to move to Chicago, LA, New York, some big city so I could have my first cushy corporate job. Yeah. Man, my first job was working for Anderson Consulting, which had a major branch in downtown St. Pete. Wow. So it brought me right back to Tampa, man. So I literally got an apartment right here in West Chase. When I came back from Florida State, I moved right into West Chase. So I have an affinity here, man. I bought a townhouse in the West Park Village Town Center. And I was all excited. And then all of a sudden, guess what? That cushy corporate job laid me off.
Wow.
So at 21 and a half, I went through my first layoff. And I had to sell my beautiful townhouse in West Park Village. Only after being there for only 6-8 months because I had gotten laid off. So now I go from 50 grand to nothing in one day. And I have to figure out what the heck I'm going to do. But they told me if I go to school, get a great education, get a master's, I could write my own ticket. Yeah. I did all that and still got laid off. And so a big part of my journey was hitting those doors early, man. I'm like, what the heck? I mean, hitting those walls, of resistance early. And so I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? So Les and Willie were both Dr. Willie now. He was Willie at the time. Willie Jolly they were mentors. And they said, listen, we're going to mentor you. We're going to coach you, but you got to pay all these dollars to come to our boot camp, come to our seminar, come to our whatever. I'm like, wow, I don't have this kind of money. I'm like, I just finished school, So a $5,000 boot camp for 3 days, you might as well have said $50,000 back then because I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But I found a way to get in the right rooms. And then I went to my first National Speakers Association convention, which was in Orlando that year. And I didn't have, part of my journey, I didn't have the money to register, Josh. So true story, champ. I dressed up and I walked the lobby for free. I walked around this conference like I belonged there. I didn't go into any of the paid sessions, no ballrooms, no breakout sessions, but I walked the lobby and I walked the hallways like I belonged. And I met Zig Ziglar in 10 minutes. I met Stedman Grant in 15 minutes. Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield in 30 minutes.
Crazy.
And all these people are like legendary folks. Jeffrey Gitomer, all these folks walking around chilling. Bro, no entourage, no, none of that. They were just walking around like regular people sitting in some. I'm like, are you kidding me? You can just walk right up to them, talk to them. They would take pictures. They would sign anything. I was like, this is home for me. So the National Speakers Association became my place for development. I started developing my craft and learning the business of speaking by joining NSA. So that's kind of how it, post-college, how it happened.
That's amazing. What did you do after the layoff to make some income?
Bro,
what did that look like? Like the gap between getting laid off, did you go to another job eventually and kind of, pay the bill?
I had to eat humble pie. So bro, and I think this is a powerful teaching lesson. Sometimes when life hands you shifts, you got to be willing to go with those shifts, and you got to be willing to downgrade your lifestyle. So I couldn't afford the townhouse anymore. I couldn't afford that whole beautiful life. So I had to sell my house, right? But I was able to get sold, and I moved into an apartment. And for 2 years, I stayed in that apartment while I rebuilt my credit, rebuilt my funds. And I took a 2-year position at the University of South Florida here in Tampa, teaching instructional systems. So I was teaching curriculum design, and I was also teaching, guess what? Public speaking.
Nice.
So I'm a year and a half, you cannot make this stuff up. I'm a year and a half out of college, teaching at the university level, teaching public speaking.
That's crazy.
Bananas. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something here, God, right? And so I worked at USF for 2 years because USF became what I call in one of my bestsellers, a book that I wrote called Caught Between a Dream and a Job. One of the things that I teach in that book is if your job is here and your dream is over here, you need a bridge to get from one to the other. That's just like Courtney Campbell, just like Howard Franklin. Come on, somebody. You need a bridge to get from one landmass to the other. So if your job is here and your dream is here, you need a bridge. That bridge is called a dream job. My dream job was USF because I was able to work there 4 days a week. Right. And when they hired me, I made them give me 1 day a week off. And that 1 day a week, so I worked 4 10-hour days. And I made that 1 day a week off fluctuate based on my speaking calendar. Love it. So week 1, I can work Monday through Thursday, but the following week I might work Monday, Tuesday, take off Wednesday, and work Thursday, Friday. You see what I'm saying? So they gave me that longitude to be able to do that. And I took a pay cut because I wasn't making the same I was making in corporate, but the pay cut was worth the time freedom.
Absolutely.
To begin to start to feed my dream. Because write this down, family, whatever you water grows. I'm going to say that again slower. Whatever you water grows. And if most of us, if we're at a job we don't like, all we tend to do is water the same job we don't like. And we talk about the same situation we don't like. And whatever you water is going to produce more.
Very true.
So I had to carve out some time to start watering the dream. So on nights, weekends, and lunch breaks, that's what I did. So I want to encourage you, if you're watching this or listening to this right now, what are you doing on your nights? What are you doing on your weekends? And what are you doing on your lunch breaks? Those 3 blocks of time are the greatest asset you have when you're trying to transition from job living to dream living.
I agree. It reminds me of the saying too, what you focus on, expand.
Yes. Come on, somebody.
Just putting that time and that bringing that consciousness to whatever it is and bring to life.
Yep.
Powerful. When did you make that leap? When did that leap happen? I need, and I'll just give you this context because I went through that. I had the dream job. I was a merchant marine captain and doing well, 6-figure income, everything, benefits, pension. But it was time for me to take that great leap. And it was a talk, believe it or not, by Steve Harvey on the jump.
Yes.
Remember the
bro. Yep.
And that one talk, a good friend of mine, he brings me his phone. He's like, you got to see this. And I was contemplating whether or not I even wanted to go back to work.
Come on.
And that talk was exactly what I needed. I remember him saying that when you make the jump, you're going to, experience some bumps and bruises on the way down.
Right.
Eventually your parachute will open and you'll soar.
That's right.
And I said, you know what? I'm young. I remember my mentor, who was also a protege of Les, Ed Blunt.
Yeah.
And Ed, actually not. Ed is...
That's right, dude.
Ed is my guy. Ed got me into Toastmasters. Nice. So he became my mentor when he was on Broadway, movies with Denzel Washington, all of that. He also spoke a lot with Miles Monroe.
Of course.
So things are coming back to the surface here.
Crazy.
So Ed was my first mentor in entrepreneurship when I got into it.
Wow.
I'll never forget Ed saying, you're either going to win or you're going to learn. And that was all I needed.
Yeah,
and
bro.
No matter what happens, you won't lose.
Yeah.
And I took that leap. And I'm curious to hear a little bit about your leap.
So let's put some context. You just said something stupid powerful that people got to catch. So a mentor of all of ours is a gentleman by the name of Dr. George Fraser, who wrote a book called Click. In that book, Click, he talks about relationships with people. And one of the things he says is, in life, you don't either win or lose. In truth, in life, either you win or you learn. Mm-hmm. And so I remember, because Ed's a very dear friend of mine. I mean, we text like a couple times a month as a bad brother. And I remember he had a recent speaking engagement. He called me, he's like, dude, Dr. Lee, how do I handle this? I'm a killer. How do I? And so we give each other tips on how to handle like big stages and stuff like that. But I remember when Dr. George Fraser came out with that book, and when he came out with that quote, and it really hit me, man, because if we could learn in life, you don't either win or lose, because win-lose psychology is positive, negative psychology.
Right. That's right.
The problem with positive, negative psychology is that the human mind, as you know, is going to do everything it can to avoid pain and gain pleasure.
Of course.
So if I feel like I have some negativity around an outcome, I'm going to avoid it.
Very true.
But if I have a win-learn psychology, winning is a positive in the brain.
Yeah.
Learning is a positive in the brain.
That's right.
So there's no losing.
Yeah.
And so when I learned that, bro, it was powerful. So when I took that job at USF, I gave myself 2 years. I said, listen, I'll come, I'll take the pay cut, I'll do the 4-day work weeks, but I'm gonna give myself 2 years. And I had an income goal. I said, okay, cool. First year, I had to deal with God. I said, God, here's what I need you to do. I need you to match in my dream what I'm making on the job on nights, weekends, and lunch break.
Yeah.
So if you can match what I make, because I was only making 40 grand a year at USF. So I said, if you can match that, God, at the end of a year, then I know that this speaking thing is something I need to do, right? So I'll put a quantifiable number on that lunch puppy, right? Mm-hmm. First year, we did 83,000 in speaking on the side. Wow. So he doubled. I was like, what the?
I love it.
So the second year, I said, okay, God, all right, you're really serious. Produce this outcome again. At least let me hit 6 figures. Then I know I can step away. The second year, we did 100 and some odd. I was like, what? On nights and weekends.
Crazy.
So I'm like, hey, it's time to step out. Mm-hmm. And so I stepped away from USF after 2 years, even though I got offered a huge opportunity. Right before I left USF, Moffitt reached out to me. They said, hey, we know you're one of their top instructional designers. We'd love you to come over and work for us. We'll pay you twice what USF is paying you. So I had to make a decision. Do I take twice in the wage and forsake the dream? Or do I go after my profit center?
You had all the security.
Come on, somebody, I had comfort and security here, right? But then I listened to something that Robert Kiyosaki said. He said, the price for freedom is security, but the price for security is freedom. And I'm a life past 5, right? So freedom is a core value for mine. So I was like, man, all right, so I'm willing to pay the price on the security because I'm willing to bet on the freedom piece. And that's what I did, man. So after those 2 years and God granted my request income-wise, I knew I had to step away.
That's amazing.
And so I left the USF opportunity. I didn't accept the Moffitt opportunity. I went full-time as a speaker at the end of 2003, and I haven't looked back since. And it's been amazing years, challenging years, incredible months, horrific months. But man, in all of it, bro, I'm so grateful, man, because it has been an amazing ride. And to be 46 and to have been full-time for now 21 years, written 8 books, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, bestsellers, Today Show 5 times. I mean, almost every TV network we've been on. I mean, it's, when I look back over it, Josh, it's mind-boggling, bro. Yeah. And I tell speakers this all the time. When you ask God to bless your business or your career or your brand or entrepreneurs or whatever, I say, when you ask God to bless it, you don't get a chance to tell God how big it gets. Mm-hmm. You got to be prepared to go on the journey and prepared to go on the ride. And that's what I've done, man.
I love that.
And my goal has always been to remain humble in all that I do, because I said, Lord, if you'll help me make it, I'll help as many other people make it as well. My mom and my dad both raised me to have a strong belief in God and really have an appreciation. My mom said, never let your wheels on your plane take off or land without thanking God. She said, don't ever catch amnesia on the Lord.
That's good.
Powerful lesson, man. So even now to this day, you know, when my plane lands, I said, thank you, Lord. Because it didn't have to work out that way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a grateful dude. I know what it's like to go up to people after they do something amazing and then they're arrogant jerks. And I never wanted to be that.
Yeah.
So I make it easy for people to approach me after a speech or after a television appearance. I make it easy for people to, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't like that, all that pomp and circumstance of I'm more important, blah, blah, blah. I tell people this all the time. I've never experienced Dr. Delatorro speaking, and I never will. Because the truth is, our gifts are not about us.
That's right.
I teach this all the time. I want you to write this down if you're taking notes. The fruit that falls off of a tree was never meant to benefit the tree.
Okay.
I'm going to say that again slower.
Okay, so
The fruit that, when was the last time you saw an apple tree eat its own apples?
mm-hmm.
Or an orange tree, Josh, eat its own oranges? You never see it in nature, and you'll never see it. Why? Because the fruit that falls off of a tree was never meant to benefit the tree. It was meant to benefit others. So your gift has nothing to do with you. Your gift has everything to do with who God sent you to serve with said gift. So since the gift is not ours, it's on loan, right? Because, I just got back from Sedona, and when I went to Sedona, bro, don't even.
So beautiful.
And
One of my favorite places. Usually, it's majestic.
Do you see what I'm saying?
It's majestic.
Went to Antelope Canyon, and as we're getting ready to go into Antelope Canyon, the lady says this canyon is 10 million years old.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, back up. I'm 46, champ. This thing was here millions of years before me.
That's right.
Even if I lived to be 111 years old, come on, somebody, it's going to be here millions of years after me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just one ant.
Walking. You know what I'm saying?
But if we can have that approach, man, to still be in awe of things, you know what I'm saying? Because we're not promised tomorrow. People say you can be here today and gone tomorrow. That's a lie. You can be here today and gone today. So the time for us to go after our dreams and live our best life is now, man.
So true.
That's what I believe, Josh.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Now, 20 years plus is a long time. And then one of the things that excited me the most is I respect any person that has managed to sustain themselves as a self-employed person, especially as a father.
Yeah.
Well, the pressure and the burdens that come with that.
Yeah.
Business is cyclical, just like the economy is cyclical.
Yeah.
You're going to have different seasons. Those winters will come.
Yeah.
And I want to know a little bit about those seasons, the winter season for you as a speaker.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
How what did that look like for you? Some of your greatest challenges, just being an entrepreneur and just going out there, getting it, handing you a paycheck. You got to be on hunt mode.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
I love one of the best definitions I heard of entrepreneurship, Josh. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. They say, as an entrepreneur, you're building a plane as you're flying in it.
That's right.
That's right. Oh, what in the world, right? But it's true. I mean, and so for me, I never wanted to be one of those people that was so busy in my business that I couldn't be a great. Dr. Stephen Covey, who was a great mentor of mine, he said this. He said, all public success starts privately.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, all success is really an inside out job.
That's right.
And what I took from that was, in order to have a better salesman, you got to be a better man first.
Yeah.
In order to be a better chairwoman, you got to be a better woman first. All success is an inside out job. So when I became a dad, my goal was to, and God bless me with 2 girls, I said, I've got to be their first boyfriend. I'm their first love affair.
Yeah.
So whatever it is I got to do to make sure that they understand what it means to be loved unconditionally, I'm going to do it for them.
Yeah.
And so it's been my job and my goal for the last Miracles 18, Hope is 16. So, I wanted them to have names that they could live up to. I wanted them to have amazing names that people could always remember them by.
Yeah.
Right. So I gave them 2 strong names, right? Miracle and Hope. I love that. And I wanted them to have names that as soon as someone said the name, they couldn't say it with a negative energy. You got to say it with some sense of positivity, some sense of, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted them to have strong names, and I wanted them to really be solid girls. And so I made a decision from the time they were born to involve them in my business, involve them in my life, involve them in my world. And so, I traveled all over the world, but guess what? When I took them to their first NSA convention and they went to the youth conference at the NSA convention, man, as soon as they said that they were Dr. Delatoro's daughters, man, they got adopted. These girls can go anywhere around the world and stay with any speaker friend of mine for a month for free. I mean, they have so much. Scripture says God will make your name great. So I've spent my years working on building a strong name so that when people hear the name Dr. Delatorro or McNeal, it stands for something.
Very true.
You know what I'm saying? And so for me as a dad, I wanted to make sure that I passed that down to my daughters. I wanted to make sure that my daughters had strong credit going into college. So 5 years ago, I decided to make them authorized users on my credit cards. So that now I've learned some lessons from that, Lord Jesus, because at the end, I actually ended up giving them a credit card. They run the heck up, like, oh, God, let me take that back, But I'm just set them up for success. So they have strong credit going into college. They can get a good apartment, get a good job, get a good car, all those things. I've taken them to a zillion speaking gigs. They've seen me speak on stage from the time they were babies.
That's beautiful.
They've sold product at the product table. You know what I'm saying? I speak every year at their schools. So for 16, 17 years, I'm the dad that's always speaking at Great American Teaching, and I'm the dad that will bring the whole class tacos or a big pizza for no reason on a Tuesday, just because I can, And so it's being present, and it's being that visible force. And I think it's so necessary now, because we're living in a world where even at the political level, they're saying one of the greatest crises that's present out there is fatherlessness, and how it's the root cause of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be an active, dedicated, involved Black father. And so that's been the focus this whole time.
I love that. And I have to share this, right? This recent publication come out from the Epperson Watergrass Living magazine.
Yeah.
And this is amazing, man. I love seeing posts with you and your girls. And
thank you.
One is in Wharton, the other's getting ready to go off to school as well.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Thank you, man.
You've got a good solid 10 years or so, on fatherhood. So I was really curious as to how you kind of juggle that, but also what's it like for them? Is it where they feel like they have to live up to?
Right. So one of the things that I did, I've been in a lot of rooms, and I've been in a lot of environments. Growing up in the church world, they always say preachers' kids can there's all this stigma around preachers' kids or whatever. And so growing up around preachers and then growing up around speakers and seeing all the speakers' children and the pressure that they felt, I didn't want my girls to feel that. So I told my girls from the time they were little, I said, you don't have to do what dad does for a living, but I do expect you to replicate my work ethic and the integrity with which I do what I do in whatever you decide to do.
I love that.
So whatever you decide to do, just be excellent at it, be amazing at it, and crush it like Dr. D crushes the speaking thing.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a ballerina, crush that.
Of course.
If you want to be a cook, crush that, right? Whatever you decide to do, give it your all.
Pursue excellence.
Yeah, pursue excellence in it, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
So they never, and neither one of them want to speak. They're like, Dad, I can't speak. I should not even think about touching you on stage. No. And so neither one of them want to speak, and I love that. I love the fact that they're clear that that's not what they want to do, because people, oh man, don't you want to pass? No, I don't want to pass this down to them if that's not what they want.
Of course.
I want to pass down the work ethic. I want to pass down the integrity, the excellence, and let them focus on that. So that's been the cool thing, man.
Shout out to Hope.
Yeah, Hope. Those are my girls. Yeah, man.
That's beautiful.
Those are my girls, man.
Now, I wanted to lean a little into pandemic.
Right.
Because it's been a big part of our lives just over the last several years.
Yeah.
And you're a speaker. And how in the world did you navigate through that?
Yeah, bro.
And I had other business endeavors. I wasn't really putting a lot of focus. I shifted everything virtual, right? But for me, a lot of my revenue wasn't coming necessarily from speaking on stages. So was that scary just hearing?
It was scary as heck, bro, because I was literally teaching a Crush the Stage. I was teaching a multi-day workshop as everything was shutting down. And so it was crazy, because I'm like, every time we're looking on the news, okay, this shut down, that shut down, now this is shut down. I'm like, what the world? It was insane. So it was very nerve-wracking in the very beginning. But I was so grateful, man, that I've had really amazing mentors and really amazing coaches in my life. And so as soon as all this talk of the pandemic started, first thing I was thinking, okay, we got to pivot to virtual. So what does that look like? And so I had already built several online courses. And so I said, okay, cool. I'm going to go back to Brendan Burchard's model. Russell Brunson's model, Webinar Wednesdays. And I would do a webinar every Wednesday. And I did a webinar every week. And I sold my online courses. So that was one way I monetized it, right? And of course, I was still doing podcasts and being a guest on other people's podcasts. And so I was able to monetize that. And then people would say, oh, well, virtually, your audience, they won't pay as much attention. So make your multi-day program, only make them a few hours on Zoom. I'm like, I'm not doing that foolishness. I'm like, my audiences are going to be, they're going to be dialed in.
Yeah.
So I went back to curriculum design. I said, okay, how do I design training experiences that work well virtually?
Got it.
And so that's exactly what we did. So I still did all my boot camp trainings. I just did them all virtually. And we would mail all the participants like this cool package. Everything they would get at the hotel, we made sure that they had virtually, right? So we gave them clappers and little pins and pom-poms, and we just got creative with it, had fun with it. And then we told our clients, hey, we're here for you. You know, we know that you guys are dealing with this pandemic as well, so you probably can't afford my full fee. So we'll take whatever you can afford. But let us empower your employees who are now working remotely, and let us do whatever we can to help your company get through this season as well. So I didn't have a set fee necessarily during the pandemic. I took whatever our clients were willing to pay, with the understanding that they had to take us back to full fee once the pandemic was over. And so many of our clients were so grateful for that, bro. So we actually thrived during the pandemic when a lot of my speaker friends went out of business, unfortunately. Wow. We were able to sustain because we already had a brand that was known for being highly interactive and extremely experiential. And that's one of the greatest things that curriculum design taught me, was the importance of experiential learning. That adult learners, we learn best through experience. We can read books all day, and then reading is important, and you know, we can have conversations all day, but the best way to learn is through experience, immersion, right? We know that, right? So that's what I build into my talks and presentations, is an experience for people.
Got it.
Because once you learn through that, and so I was like, experience can be transferred virtually. So I was able to use that as a inroads. So we were able to thrive during the pandemic, man. So yeah, but it was scary. It was challenging, and we pushed through. And you can't always listen to everything that you're hearing out there. That's why I really want to encourage you all to really tap into your own discernment, your own genius, your own wisdom, your own empathy. Really ask the questions of yourself and God, life source, the universe, whatever you believe, and really push the envelope. You know, I don't believe anybody is successful who does not have to, at some point, go against the grain, push the envelope, and do the uncomfortable. You know, I've heard the expression all the time. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is just a little extra. Yeah. Right? So what extra are you willing to do in your business? What extra are you willing to do in your brand? What extra are you willing to do in your marriage? What extra are you willing to do in your parenting to stand out from the crowd, to stand out from the norm, to stand out from, you know, they say there's no traffic on the extra mile, right? So how can you go the extra mile and just and be that person who does it differently? Because I teach this all the time. I believe that your dollars are in your difference. Yeah. And most people are so busy trying to copy other folks, but your real revenue is what makes you unique from someone else, not what makes you exactly the same. Yeah. Because if two of us are the same, one of us is unnecessary. If you go to a shoe store and you buy an awesome pair of shoes and you get them in the car, you're driving home and you just lift up the lid on the box and say, "Now I just want to see my shoes one more time." And you realize they gave you two left shoes. They bad. Oh, you got the latest Jordan, but it's two left shoes or it's two right shoes. What you going to immediately do? Instinctively, you go hit that first U-turn. I got to go back. Why? Because I don't need two of the same daggum shoe. If two of us are the same, one of us is unnecessary. Yeah. So we have to learn how to embrace our own uniqueness, man. And a part of my journey, Doc, has been becoming comfortable and falling in love with my difference. My name, my full lips. I'm short like Kevin Hart. Come on, somebody. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the tallest, knife in the drawer, right? My style is different. It's very edgy. It's very in your face. It's an amalgamation of a lot of things. I was mentored by amazing people. Yeah. So what comes out of Dr. Delatorro, you're going to get a little Dr. Maya Angelou. You're going to get a little Miles Monroe. You're going to get a little bit of Zit. You're going to get a little Tony. You're going to get, but it's all wrapped around the Dr. Delatorro life. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what I've learned, man. I've learned to embrace and become comfortable. A big part of my journey has been embracing my uniqueness. For sure. Embracing what makes me different, man. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. I know you're really known for the work that you do in peak performance. And what do you tap into when you're at your lowest? Maybe business isn't thriving. The winter season. Yeah. Bookings ain't coming as consistent. Absolutely. Yeah. They were. Yeah. What's your outlet? How do you get yourself in a peak state to just get out of it? Is it tapping into prayer or scripture or going to the gym? Yeah. Yes. All of
Wanted to geek a little out on
Let's do that. Yeah. So for me, man, first and foremost, the people you surround yourself with. Chapter 8 of my book, Shift into a Higher Gear. Shift your posse, because who you ride with matters. One of the most important things that I've done my whole life has been to be very intentional about the people in my life. So when I'm going through challenging times, when life isn't working out, the first thing I do is I reach out to my squad. And man, I have a good, deep bench of amazing people, right? And here's the other thing. And Dr. George Fraser, who wrote that book, Click, he said this. He said, reach out to people when you don't need nothing from them. In other words, build your boats before you need to sail.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what I'll do, like, and you'll notice this even in our friendship as we continue to, because this is our first time meeting in person, but like you'll notice, like, watch, 2 weeks from now, for no reason, I'm gonna text you on a Tuesday at 3:00 and just say, hey, Josh, just checking on you, man. I hope and pray all is well. I don't need nothing. I just want to let you know you ran across my line. I do that for people from the White House all the way down to people who are living on the streets. And it doesn't matter. I make investments in people when I don't need anything from them, so that when I do ask for a favor, oh my God, they're jumping over themselves. They're like, oh, Doctor, do you need something? It's done. The answer is yes before I can finish the question. So for me, that's been a huge part of how because I actually wrote a book on this, because man, there's not, in my opinion, it's on Audible, it's on Amazon, it's called Thriving Through Your Storms, 12 profound lessons to help you grow through anything you go through in life. I wrote that book because I got tired of going through challenging times and not having a resource to reach to. And so I said, everybody goes through stuff.
That's right.
How do we learn from what we go through? So for me, first thing I do is I put myself around amazing people. Second thing I do is I shift my state, shift my physiology, right? Boxing, gym, racquetball, pickleball, right? Get outside. I love to swim. I love to bicycle. So I love to get on. So I love to do those things, and just so getting out and getting some of the challenging emotions out of you. Even during the pandemic, I took up salsa and bachata. I got level 1 and level 2 certified. I got boating certified. I got my gun certification. I got my second certification in disc training.
Amazing.
All during the pandemic, because I wanted to be a better speaker, a better human being, a better entrepreneur on the other side. Because one of my mentors and friends, he's actually a colleague of mine, and he's in the Hall of Fame as well. His name is Walter Bond. He's down in South Florida. He focuses on peak performance as well. He came out of the NBA and doubled his income in speaking after 3 years of being after 3 years of leaving the NBA. He doubled his income, and he's been a full-time speaker ever since. And I love Walter. And one of the greatest lessons Walter taught me, he said, the greatest athletes are born in the off season. He said, you don't get stronger. I feel this one, bro. He said, you don't get stronger during the season. You don't get better during the season because you're so busy competing. And you're so busy, like, you know what I'm saying? You're in game mode.
Yep.
So your jump shot doesn't really improve during season. He said, the greatest athletes get better during the off season. It's what you do in the off season. And so every challenging time in my life, I process it now as an off season. Now I get a chance to get in the gym. Now I get a chance to get my cardio up, drop the 50 pounds. You know what I'm saying? I get a chance to really get tight. Right. So so if you're in an off season right now, maybe your business isn't working the way you want, or your relationship isn't working the way you want, and you're in some kind of a predetermined timeout or pause or parenthetical abbreviated season of challenge. If you're in that right now, take it as an off season. Take it as your chance to get better, stronger, faster, so that when the season kicks back in, you're ready to win.
That's so good, man. That was probably one of the biggest takeaways from this entire episode.
Oh man. Oh, you're welcome, man. Because we all go through it, man. We all go through it. And that's what, so watch this, Josh. Here's another tip, entrepreneurial tip, right? Even when things are going great, set monies aside, right? Don't get all high on the hog, right? There's a lot of stuff on social media that just spend every dime you got. Listen, I don't care how, this has been a big tool for me. I don't care how much money my company has made over the decades, bro. I pay myself a very, very modest salary out of my company because I don't need a lot. I got the house of my dreams. I got the car of my dreams. I got the friends of my dreams and the mentors of my dreams. I got jewelry. I got Louis. I got all the stuff. Yeah, I got the stuff. And after you get enough of those things, and watch this. Let me say this. Half of the stuff that people like rave about that I have was gifted to me. They then gave it to me. I was in a conference one time, got a huge fee to speak or whatever. And then they take me into a green room and there's 2 big Louis Vuitton boxes. And that was just a gift from the client. Now, when I rock that, people think I'm bought, not a clean, right? So my point is, no matter how amazing things go in your life, always, prepare for a rainy day because you just don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Dig you well before you thirst.
Yeah, exactly. Same stuff. And so that's what I've done in business, man. I pay my taxes, right? And I think that stuff is important. I've got a bookkeeper, I've got CPAs, I've got financial advisors, I've got lawyers. I have people in my team and on my staff that help me to be integrous as a business person.
Yeah.
So that when you go through the winters, you can pull from reserves. If you got to go get that, because you got to go get an EIDL loan, right? You can do that and you'll be all right, right? So I think those things are so essential, man. And everybody talks about the flaws, but nobody talks about business operations and QuickBooks and then paying quarterly taxes and making sure that you're being integrous with reporting your income honestly and not just hiding stuff.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? 100%. And so I've been on IRS repayment plans a bunch of times. So you owe 10 grand at the end of the year. Cool. Well, I ain't got no problem with that.
Yeah.
It's a part of the process, man.
Especially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but journaling, another one for me, bro, is I'm big on journaling. I first thing I do in the morning is I make a list of things I'm grateful for before the day even starts, right? And so I'm big into journaling. I'm big into having outlets. I'm big into traveling and vacations, taking trips. When I went to Sedona, I felt called. I said, I need to get around the mountains.
Yeah.
I feel the mount. I feel a call. I need to be around. When I go to Costa Rica, I need to be in the forest. I need to be, you know what I'm saying? There's certain things that just call to you, right? You know this.
Oh, yeah.
And you've traveled internationally more than I have. So I'm trying to get to your level, Britton. But man, it's just, there's something to it, bro. That just, when you get a chance to get in a different environment, it helps to bring something else out of you, man. And that's what I love about the podcast, how you can do this all over the world. I think they keep that, bro. That's dope, man.
And that was $1 million worth of game just in the last I'd appreciate it, but I could talk for hours and hours, and I know we have to bring it in for a landing, but I love the fact that you're giving all this free game and with your Crush the Stage program.
Oh, yeah.
Now you circled around the hero's journey.
Yeah.
You want through the belly of the beast. Fatherhood.
Yeah.
Business challenges, everything.
Yeah, love and relationship. All
of that stuff. You collect the elixir. Dr. Delatorro is born.
There you go.
And now it's time to pay that.
That's right. That's right.
You mentioned earlier.
And to your point, Josh, the reason why I can come on platforms like this and give what you're calling free game is because so much has been given to me. And so I'm at a place in my life, even at 46, where I have a very philanthropic agenda. And what I mean by that is, now, philanthropic doesn't mean everything's free. It just means that you come from a giving heart.
Yeah.
And so for me, when the camera comes on for a podcast or a TV interview, my goal is always to add as much value as possible in the 5 minutes or an hour that we have.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to begin the conversation of what's next, right? So for me, so everybody knows. So here's what's crazy, Josh. I didn't know as I was starting my journey to become, because Brian Tracy teaches this. He says, if you are going to commit to anything, commit to be the best at it. And so he taught me the importance of making the decision to be one of the best. If you're going to do it, be one of the best at it.
Oh, yeah.
So I made the decision I want to be one of the best speakers in the world. I didn't know that as I was on that journey, it was also going to help me to become one of the best speaker trainers in the world. So literally, I've been speaking full time 20 years, but I've been training speakers for 15 of those 20 years. And I've been doing it in boot camps. And so I do boot camps called Crush the Stage. I do them once a quarter. The website is crushthestage.com. You can learn all about it. And we've got testimonials from almost every influencer you can imagine raving about how we help people. I teach them a 12-step blueprint over 4 days. And what's unique about Crush the Stage is not only do they learn about presentation, but they then have to get up on stage and do it. Yeah. So I make them speak like 8 different times over the course of those. I mean, we take them through the paces, champ. It's like military. It's crazy. And so I love programs like that and speaking business mastery. And we have a conference, a full throttle conference where my motorcycle is live on stage. And I teach like 25 different metaphors about life and business. and how they apply to motorcycle riding. So I've just built a brand, man, where I love events, and because I think people get the most transformation through events.
Oh yeah.
And so I love doing events and programs, and being at this particular point in my life, it's like, I give back to aspiring speakers, showing them the ropes, giving them game. Make sure you guys follow us on our YouTube channel, because we have a lot of speaker game even on our YouTube channel. This would be like how to open your presentation, how to, if you're broke, do this, and if you got an empty calendar, these are 6 things you can do to fill your calendar like right now. So I believe in putting good stuff out there, man, because it begins the conversation. And it's not the full solution, but at least you can take those steps and start getting some results right away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed, I was telling you last night, just watching the Keynote docuseries, and
Man,
just mind blowing what you've been able to do.
Thank you,
with
man.
so many of your mentees. And on the topic of motorcycles, we have this phenomenal book right here, Shift into Higher Gear. So I didn't know that there were so many parallels with just motorcycles, and I've seen your content. I see you out there doing your thing on your bike,
right.
But I didn't realize that this book specifically was taking a lot of those parallels, the analogies and metaphors, whether that be referring to your mom as an engine. Heroes that a motorcycle doesn't have.
That's right.
It's all dope. Yeah, incredible. I never would have thought something like that could be tied together. Tell our community a little bit about what they can expect. We spoke about all this free game.
You
can get so much more in this book. So, how did this concept even come to be?
So you'll appreciate this, Josh, right? So when I created Full Throttle, so Full Throttle is my version of Date with Destiny. It's my Tony Robbins-esque experiential multi-day event, right? You and I are both Tony disciples, right? So it's like, holy smokes. And I will adore him until, we will live and die, and there's one. There's one, and I love his commitment to being the best. And I love something that Tony says. He says, everybody who comes up to me and says, man, you wait, I'll be where you're going to be next year. He's like, cool. He said, by the time you get to where I was last year, I won't be there anymore.
That's right.
He said, as soon as you think you caught up to me, I ain't there no more. So I love that about him, but he doesn't go. Anyway, so I created Full Throttle because I wanted to teach. Because every time I would get on my motorcycle, Josh, God was just starting dropping downloads into my spirit about life and business and how they parallel motorcycle riding. So I would just start writing these joints down. And next thing you know, I got invited to give a sermon at a church. And so I said, can I bring my motorcycle? They was like, sure. I said, I want to do an illustrated message. So I taught it at the church, and it went phenomenal. So I was like, okay, boom. If it went great there, but I didn't even get to half of the principles, let's do this in a conference. So I started. So in 2013, I created the Full Throttle Experiment, which is a motorcycle themed success conference. So we ran that for a number of years. During the pandemic, bro, you were talking about pandemic. One of my best friends, she had a major book deal with a major publisher. And she's like, hey, my publisher is interested in one more author to write a book, but you got to be willing to write it during the pandemic. Are you down? I said, of course. So I pitched them 3 different book ideas. The one that they wanted was, what's this idea about you taking concepts and principles from motorcycle riding? And I said, well, that's my Full Throttle conference. And so I pitched the idea to the publisher. They loved it. Penguin Random House, Barracola. They loved the concept. We changed the name of the concept from Full Throttle to Shift into a Higher Gear. Every chapter starts with the word shift. And because the goal isn't to teach you how to ride a motorcycle in the book. The goal is to teach you how to shift. Right? Because the truth is, every single thing that we need to do in our lives and businesses, if we're going to succeed, is going to require a shift or a pivot in mindset, in action, in execution, in thinking, in the way we feel about something. It's going to require an adjustment.
Paradigm shift.
Yeah, right. Even a paradigm shift. So how do we do that? So we wrote the book during the pandemic, bro, and it came out as the pandemic was ending.
Wow.
And this book is responsible for us being on the Today Show 5
That's incredible.
times.
That's incredible.
In the same year for the same book. I'm the only author that's ever been able to pull that off.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I see that. These days, a lot of people are calling you Mr. Today Show. It's
like, and I'm going back in July. I just found out from the producers I'm going back in July for another one. So it's like, It's that same notion, bro. It's how do you, and people ask me, they come up with this, Dr. D, man, who's your publicist? How do I get on the Today Show? I say, wrong question.
Yes.
Yeah. They're like, well, just tell me who the PR person is and I can get on there myself. Wrong question. Well, okay, well, if that's not the right question, okay, who did you know that got you the book deal? Wrong question. Dang, Doc, I'm not getting it. You're not right. You're not asking the right question. You're asking a question based upon an outcome. You're asking a fruit question when you need to ask a root question. The root question is, I'm gonna say that again, you're asking a fruit question when you should be asking a root question, because the roots produce the trunk, which produces the branches, which produces the fruit.
Yeah.
So you can't get fruit without the root. So ask a root question. And once I tell them, I said, have you thought about asking me, what made you create a concept so unique that you could sell it to a publisher as a unique concept, get a publishing deal, and then work with the PR firm to then pitch that to a major media company. And after all these no's, get the right yes, and then stay in that producer's face until they bring you back over and over again. And then when you get there, be incredible when you're there. Because I know plenty of people that can get the opportunity, but then they squander it when they get it.
That's right.
So it's not just about the outcome. Stop asking outcome questions and start asking root cause questions. And if you can do that, you can replicate someone else's success. You and I both know this. Tony teaches this, right?
Yeah.
Right. You want to collapse decades to days, get mentors, and replicate someone's process.
Yeah.
How they did what they did, but you got to replicate their mindset, their emotional state. You know this, right? And so that's what it takes, bro. So that's what shifting to a higher gear is. People can learn all about it by going to shiftingtoahighergear.com. You can get it anywhere books are sold. And the cool thing that we did, which I think you'll appreciate, is we created a workbook. So as we were writing the book, we produced a workbook to go along with it. And so we dropped them both at the same time. Because when you have a major publishing deal, you get royalties twice a year. So I'm like, okay, I need to get paid on this book like all the time. So we were able to set it up. So we created a workbook that goes along with it. It's a companion resource. We now have an online course. We now have a 2-day workshop called the Shift Summit that we do. So we were able to take, this is what I teach my students. I teach my students how to not just create a book, but that book is a movement. How do you now create other ancillary things around it that all monetize? Because the concept, you can get paid on the concept a lot of different ways.
Absolutely.
So that's what we teach them how to do. And when you create those multiple streams of income, Josh, around these concepts, now when stages are low, right? Or whatever, right? Even this year, right? I mean, I took my fee up after I got into the Hall of Fame so now some of your past clients can't afford you. And you're introducing yourself to newer clients. And so they're kind of figuring out, okay, how do we put budget together? So I'm like, great. So while I'm home, let me build my studio.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I'm there's never a time when I'm not working on something to grow the business or to grow the brand. Because even when God downshifts you, you're like, okay, cool. This is my off season. How do I leverage this off season? Because guess what? The call's gonna come sooner or later. And I gotta be back out there again. If I'm doing 8 to 10 gigs a month, I don't have time to build a studio. I don't have time to write another bestseller. I don't have the
time has arrived.
Come on, because you're constantly out there delivering. You can't work on the business because you're so busy in it.
So true.
So I've learned to appreciate off seasons, bro, and I've learned to appreciate those times when I don't have to be out there all the time, so I could speak to and build a global brand and touch people in a bigger way.
That's great. We'll be sure to leave these links in the show notes that you guys can pick up your copy. And also, for those of you wanting to take your presentation, your keynote to the next level, we have the platinum presentations, which I'm sure they can find online.
Absolutely, yeah. That book came. So this one came out in 2017, and I wrote this one, interestingly enough, Josh, right after Warren Buffett went on record to say that the most important business skill he ever developed was his ability to speak in public. And when he said that on LinkedIn in 2017, and he said that he makes all of his top students take extensive public speaking and presentation skills training classes, I said, man, I've written 6 books up to this point, but I've never written a book on the skill that I'm using all the time. So I decided to write this book. And I'm so grateful for it because we then created an online course around it, all that other kind of stuff. People can learn about the online course by going to crushthesale.com. Because I wrote this book and then I wrote an online course about persuasion to teach people about the importance of persuasive presentation. And it's been powerful. But I think it's those kinds of things, man. It's when I saw that happen on LinkedIn, I said, let me write the book. So we wrote the book in like, I think 3 months, and we put it out there, and people have just been eating it up, gobbling it up.
That's great.
Because at the end of the day, I teach this all the time, y'all. Listen, publishing is finishing. I'm going to say that again slower. Publishing is finishing. Every one of us have ideas.
Yeah, very true.
But you got to go from idea to execution, and then you have to put bookends on it and say, okay, this is enough. And this is not everything I know about speaking. This is the beginning of the conversation, right? But it begins the learning process, right? And so I think the more we can produce good resources that people can learn and glean from, the more powerfully we can live our lives to the fullest. And the more we can take the time, and this goes to your brand, to really squeeze. I want to encourage every one of you all to squeeze your journey. There are things in your journey that you're discounting. There are things in your journey that you're ashamed of, that you're not proud of, that you're kind of pushing off. That very thing is what humanity needs.
That's right.
So I want you to go back over the Rolodex of yesterweek, yestermonth, and yesteryear. And as you go back over the Rolodex of your past, I want you to squeeze your life experience. And from that is going to come a really nice juice. That juice is the juice of your journey. Take the juice of your journey and use it to nourish humanity. Because you went through what you went through, not because God was sending you through it. He was sending it to you for it to come through you to benefit others. There are things in your, if I did not catalog my journey, caught between a dream and a job would have never existed. If I didn't catalog my journey, shift into I idea would have never existed. If I didn't catalog my journey, platinum presentations, crush the stage, full throttle, the reality show, the keynote, none of these things would exist if I did not bring out what I went through. So is it possible that your calamity is actually the stepping stone to your greatest breakthrough? And is it possible that the very thing that you think is the hardest thing that you went through is the street credibility for your next level? Because everybody talks about how Jesus, took the 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and he fed the multitude, but nobody talks about what he did first. Before he fed them, he broke the bread. He broke it, then he blessed it. And so sometimes we got to be broken. And then he put out a blessing over that brokenness. And then he serves us to the masses. Because nobody cares about your strategies on how I can overcome pain if I haven't been through pain.
That's so.
Nobody cares about what strategies you have to help me be wealthy if you haven't been broke. So it is your journey where all your secret sauce lies. One of the things I love about motorcycle riding is motorcycles are so gangster, right? Most cars are front wheel drive. So cars pull you everywhere you go. Motorcycles are rear wheel drive. So a motorcycle pushes you everywhere it goes. The back tire on a motorcycle is 3 times bigger than the front tire. Why? Because your past is more, because the back wheel is behind you. So you have more past than you necessarily do future, because the future is not guaranteed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So all your power is connected to the back wheel, but it's released through how you leverage the throttle.
I love it.
So the more we leverage that throttle, the more we send a signal to yesterday to propel us into our tomorrow. So instead of forgetting the past and erasing the past, my friend, learn to leverage your past, because the depth of your past is an indication of the height of your future. And I love something that Bishop T.D. Jakes taught me. He said, every one of us are born looking like our parents, but we die looking like our decisions.
Yeah. Like I remember hearing that for the first time. As
Bro, change. I had to pull over on the interstate. I said, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're born looking like our parents. We die looking like our choices and our decisions. So we can make better decisions when we learn how to shift, when we learn how to pivot, when we learn how to value our journey more. Spend less time complaining about your journey and spend more time analyzing the various aspects of your journey, and ask yourself this question: because I was raped, who can I now relate to? Because I've been through divorce, who can I now connect with? Because I did go through that job layoff, who can I now resonate with who's also experienced the same thing? And if we can learn, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not discounting any of it. It all sucks. I say this all the time. Wayne Dyer said this, failure is fertilizer. It stinks, but it grows green people.
That's right.
Right? It sucks to get laid off. It sucks to be taken advantage of. It sucks to go through divorce. I've been through it. It sucks to have to co-parent and not fully understand what the other parent is doing and all this other kind of stuff. And been there, done that, right? But at the end of all of it, if you can find a way to turn that thing around and find the joy in it, find the positive, find the breakthrough, and leverage your off season, man, your journey will be incredible.
That's right.
And when you go on that journey, do yourself a favor, put amazing people on the journey with you and help as many other people create an incredible journey for themselves as well.
That's so good. I mean, we literally could have ended it right there. I had one last question.
Whatever, but I'm here for you, man.
It's just so good. And what's next? What's next? Obviously, it's like you've done this thing at the highest level.
Yeah.
What do you possibly do beyond this? As you know, in the world of personal development, they teach us peak to peak, right?
Yeah.
You reach those peaks and then discover there's other peaks, and you made a full go around at the hero's journey.
Yeah, man.
Now you're paying it forward, but what's the next thing for you?
So for me, man, so a few of the next things, there's still 5 more books in me, 5 more, and we've already published 8. So there's 5 more in me. So we're going to be writing some more content, which I'm really, really excited about. I really want to do more from a philanthropic standpoint. I created a nonprofit called the Crush Foundation when my mom passed. And so now what I want to start doing is I want to start giving away scholarships to young kids who are going to college, but I want to do it through an oratorical contest. So they have to compete. They come in, they learn presentation skills, they go write speeches, and they come back and compete. And the top 5 students are going to win monetary stipends for college.
It's amazing.
And so, I'm going to call that the Olivia B, because that's named after my mom.
Beautiful.
And so we're going to do those things, which I'm really excited about. Traveling, just enjoying, so I'm at a season now, man. I want it. I've been like making it happen for so long. I want to just enjoy life more. So traveling more for fun, just embracing it all, continuing to build other people up, continuing to, I'm really getting super serious about our YouTube channel and our own podcast. So we have a podcast called Crushing Life with Dr. Delatorro. So you can check that out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Delatorro. So now that I've done what I've done for these last 20 years in private corporate, because the truth is, Josh, I didn't build my brand online.
Yeah.
Back when I became Dr. Delatorro, it was private corporate association conference convention. So I'm still relatively new, to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't get serious about Instagram until the pandemic. I mean, and like I just started a TikTok account a couple months ago, right? So it's like a lot of this online stuff I'm newer to. Yeah. I'm visible online, but I didn't build my brand online. So a lot of what I'm doing now is taking all the stuff that we've done over the years and now doing it in a format to where we can be a global teacher.
That's great.
And teach what we do.
That's great. Now, if someone wants to reach out for either mentorship, and mentorship is earned, not just given.
Yeah. You got it. Right.
So if someone wanted to reach out for any of your programs,
absolutely.
What's the best way for them to reach?
So we're at Dr. Delatorro on all social media. So follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the platforms. Again, our YouTube is youtube.com/Delatorro. Our primary website is delatorro.com. So we're everywhere online. I mean, you just type in my first name, everything pops up for you. If you're interested in being mentored and speaking, the best place to go is crushthestage.com. Fill out the information, and one of our team members will reach out to you and have a conversation, do a discovery call with you. You'll complete an assessment, and then we can put you into one of our cohorts. If you're killing the game in speaking, but you want mentoring on the business side, you can reach out to just shoot us a message. Our email is drdD@delatorro.com. That's drdD@delatorro.com. Send us an email and let us know, hey, listen, I'm interested in private mentoring regarding building an empire around my speaking. I think I got the speech stuff down. I just need to build the empire around it. We could do a VIP day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I do masterminds and VIPs with people who don't like group coaching. Some people don't like group coaching, right? So we do the VIP days and stuff like that.
That's great. Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's some of the ways folks can find us. But we're everywhere. And when here's what I realize: when you're serious about something, You do whatever you got to do to find that resource. Like I sought out Dr. Willie Jolly. I sought out Les Brown. I found what programs work and I put myself in front of their face. And that's one of the things I teach. And this is the final lesson. I want you to understand something powerful as it relates to whether you're working with Josh, myself, or anybody that's killing the game, who's spent decades investing in themselves. Remember this: if it's too much to invest, it's also too much to generate. I'm gonna say that again slower. If it's too much to invest, it's too much to generate. Well, Dr. Doe, what do you mean by that? I ask questions. I ask speakers this all the time. How many of y'all want to make 10 grand a speech? Every hand goes up. I said, how many of y'all are willing to invest 10 grand to learn how to charge 10 grand a speech? 90% of hands go down. I said, you'll never make it. You'll never earn 10 grand. Why? Because the same energy that says 10,000 is too expensive for me to invest. Look at your hand position. When you say it's too much to invest, energetically, the same energy that is pushing away the opportunity to learn and grow because you think it's too much to invest, now has done the same thing to those fees. Because as long as there is day, there is night. The law of polarity, the law of duality says as long as there is left, there is right. There's two sides to every coin. So as soon as you say it's too much to invest, you just said it's too much to generate. So never say something is too expensive.
So good, yeah.
Always say, how can I afford it? And always say this investment is perfect and it's coming back to me 7 times. Because if it's a seed, it has no choice but to bring back a harvest greater than the seed that was planted.
That's right. Down. So that. Man, love you. This was phenomenal. I just definitely goes down as one of my favorite interviews, and we cover so much ground.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm looking for. Hopefully, we can have you back on the show later down the road. But it's a blessing having you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving our community.
Joy.
And the fact that you even were willing to just work it out for us.
Yeah, man.
Is truly a testament to how much of a servant heart you have. So thank you. Make sure you guys connect with Dr. Delatorro. That is a rock, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Journey Podcast, and be sure to catch some of the next episodes. If you got value from this, leave a review, subscribe, and share it with someone who can get value as well. Take care. God bless. And we'll be seeing you guys soon.
Peace.